Alright guys, in this tutorial we're going to talk about how to draw the mortise and tenon joint in Onshape. And before we get started, the mortise and tenon joint is very common in any type of leg work, whether it's on a table, a dining room table or a coffee table, or any type of chair. Alright, you would most commonly see a mortise and tenon joint. A mortise and tenon joint is one of the strongest joints out there, and it's also pretty easy to draw and pretty easy to build in the shop. So to get started, you can see that I'm in my wood joinery folder, and I'm going to create a document, and I'm going to call it Mortise and Tenon 2, since I've already created a mortise and tenon joint. So once I'm in my document, I'm going to rename this part studio, and I'm going to call this the mortise part. So I'm going to rename it by right-clicking and hitting rename, and I'm going to call this mortise. And to get started, I'm going to create a sketch on the right view. So I'm going to hit sketch, and I'm going to hit the right view, and I'm going to hide my top and my front. And I'm going to right click and hit view normal to sketch plane. So once I'm viewing my right view, I'm going to use my rectangle tool to draw the outline of my mortise joint, which is going to be 10 inches long and 3 inches in height. Once I do that, alright, similar to how we created the box joint, okay, you're going to need to offset your outer lines of your mortise. And to do that, you're going to hit O on your keyboard, and you'll see once you hit O on your keyboard, the offset tool lights up, which is right here. All right, you're going to offset the top and bottom by 1/4 of an inch. So you're going to click on the top. All right, hit Enter, and it's going to ask you to specify the dimension. You're going to hit Enter again, and then you're going to do the same thing to the bottom, except we need to flip the direction this time. Hit Enter. It's going to ask you to specify the dimension. Just hit Enter again. All right, and then what we need to do is we need to specify, all right, where is the mortise going to be in relation to our ends. So we're going to offset the end by 1/4 of an inch, and that is the start of our mortise. And our mortise is going to be a 1/2 inch wide. All right, so I'm going to offset my end line again by 0.75. Whoop, went the wrong way on me. So I'm gonna hit O again. All right, I'm gonna hit Enter. 0.75. All right, and there we go. Okay, so this piece in here is our mortise. All right, I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side. All right, so I'm gonna click once, Enter. All right, not sure why I did that again for me, but we're gonna hit O again. We're going to offset this side. We're going to specify the dimension, 0.25. All right, and then I'm going to offset the end again. Again, I need to flip the direction, and then 0.75. So both of these areas are my mortises. All right, the final step to do this, I need to trim out the lines that I'm not using. So I'm going to hit Trim, which is this button up here, or my keyboard shortcut, which is M. And I'm going to trim the lines that I'm not using. All right, so now you will see that, okay, I have the outer shape drawn, and I also have my mortises drawn now. Okay, so my sketch is complete. So I'm going to confirm my sketch by hitting the green check, and then I'm going to right click and view isometric. And now I need to do 2 separate extrusions here. Okay, so the first extrusion I'm going to do is I'm going to extrude this by 1 inch. All right, and then I'm going to extrude this by 1/4 of an inch. All right, so I'm going to extrude this by 1 inch. All right, and hit Enter. And then I need to extrude. I'm gonna hit so I can view sketch 1. I'm gonna hit that again. All right, and then I'm going to extrude this part and this part. I'm going to extrude by 0.25. Now if you view in there, all right, you'll see, okay, that my mortise is cut out, okay, and I know that the distance between the opening to the back of my mortise is going to be 3/4 of an inch. All right, so there is my mortise. Okay, next I'm going to create my tenon. My tenon is the part that will go into the slot that I just created. All right, so I'm going to hit Insert New Element, Create Part Studio. And I'm going to right click and rename it tenon. And this time I'm going to create my sketch on the front view. So I'm going to hit Sketch and Front. Right click, View Normal to Sketch Plane, and I'm going to hide my top and right side. Alright, I'm going to use my rectangle tool to draw the outline. This time I'm going to make it 8 inches and 3 inches. And then, all right, I need to offset my lines, my top and bottom, to line up with my mortise joint. All right, so to do that, I'm going to hit O, and I'm going to offset by 0.25 since that is the start of my mortise joint. All right, and then I'm going to take my line tool, all right, and I'm going to draw my tenons from where the points are that I just offset. All right, so my mortise is 3/4 of an inch deep. All right, so my tenons are also going to be 3/4 of an inch, so they will fit perfectly. Okay, so I'm going to draw a line that is 3/4 of an inch long, and they're going to come. It's going to come up to the top of my point that I just offset. Whoop. I messed up there. I did not connect my points, so let me go back and redo that. Alright, so now we're back to square one here. So I'm going to take my line tool and I'm going to draw my line from the point that I offset, and it's going to be 0.75 inches long. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Let's take my line tool, start from the point that I just offset, 0.75, come up to the point that I just ended on. Alright, and then the final thing I need to do is I need to trim up the lines that I'm not going to use. So I'm going to hit M, and that is a shortcut for trim. I'm going to trim up these lines. Alright. And you can see now that I have my tenons drawn. These are my tenons right here, okay? So I'm going to confirm my sketch. I'm going to view it isometrically. And I need to do two separate extrusions here, okay? So the first part I'm going to extrude is just my rectangle. And then the second part I'm going to extrude are my tenons. So I'm going to go hit extrude, and I'm going to extrude my rectangle here. I'm going to extrude it 1 inch. However, I need to make sure my tenons are centered. So I need to extrude it by 1 inch, but I need to change it from blind to symmetric. That is saying it's still 1 inch thick, but they are a 1/2 inch on both sides. So I'm going to confirm that. And then I need to view my sketch 1 again, so I'm going to click on the eye. And then I'm going to hit extrude again, and I'm going to extrude both tenons. Alright, and since my mortise was a 1/2 inch thick, I'm also going to make my tenons a 1/2 inch thick, but they also need to be symmetrical, alright, which makes it on the center of my piece, okay? So I'm going to confirm that, view isometric, and the final thing I'm going to do is I'm going to edit the appearance, change it to a yellow color so I know the difference in pieces. And then it's time for assembly. So I hit assembly, and then I'm going to come up to insert, and I'm going to insert my mortise, and then I'm going to insert my tenon. I'm going to click to confirm, and then I'm going to mate this tenon to this mortise. Before I do that, I need to right click on the mortise and hit fix so that does not move. I'm going to rotate my screen and hit fasten mate. I'm going to mate the center of my tenon to the center of my mortise. And you can see that's a nice fit, alright, because I made sure all of my dimensions were correct. Alright, and it fits very nicely in there. There's no gap, alright. So then I'm going to insert another tenon and another mortise. Confirm that. Alright, I'm going to mate this mortise, or this tenon to this mortise here. So I'm going to rotate my screen, hit fasten mate. Click on the center of the tenon. Click on the mortise, and I'm going to solve that. And then the final thing I need to do is I need to rotate my mortise. So I'm going to click on it and I'm going to rotate it 180 degrees. And then I need to mate the mortise to the tenon. So I'm going to rotate my screen, click fasten mate. One thing I forgot to mention, alright? If you go to fasten mate, alright, and you try to mate this right here, notice how everything is highlighted yellow. Alright, that means you're mating the center of this surface, okay, where we need to be mating the center of the mortise. So when you mate the mortise, alright, you need to make sure that the only thing that's highlighted yellow is the outline of the mortise. Alright, and I'm going to click the center of the mortise, and then I'm going to click the center of the tenon, view. Alright, confirm that, view it isometrically, and you can see that all of the pieces fit nicely together. There are no gaps. Alright, again, this is one of the strongest joints in woodworking, and it's not that difficult to create. You can use a drill press and a chisel and use your table saw and hand saws to create your tenons. Okay, so the final thing we need to do is create our drawing. So I'm going to come down here to insert new element, hit create drawing. Again, this is our standard template with no views. And then I'm going to insert the assembly, but I'm going to insert the isometric drawing first. And then I'm going to insert the front view and the top view. And then I'm going to insert the right view. So I'm going to go back to insert, change it from front to right. Front view, or right side view, right there. Hit escape. Alright, and the final thing that you need to do, there are hidden lines here because you have the tenon that's going inside of the mortise. Alright, and you know it's there, but you can't see it. So for each view, you need to go back, right click, and hit, oh, you can't see it from here, right click, and hit show hidden lines. And you need to do that for each view. Sometimes the view might be blocked. Show hidden lines. Show hidden lines. Alright, and you can see that the lines that are dashed represent hidden lines, and we know that the tenons are there, but we can't see them. So we are using what are called hidden lines. So once you have a drawing that looks like this, okay, you're going to copy your screenshot into the Google slide, right, and then submit that Google slide. Okay. In our next drawing tutorial, we are going to create the dovetail joint. And the dovetail joint you're going to see is very similar to the box joint. However, there are a couple of extra steps that we need to do to create our dovetail joint.